by the way, your oldest brother was fired.
Right.
Only because it was just not the right timing for him.
I got fired too when I was charging for parking.
Yeah, well, maybe there were some challenges that I don't really remember, but...
Hello, people of the world. We're back here with another episode of Sam Sessions. We're here in the Acoustic A Room at South Austin Music. Today is a very big, special day. We got the man of the hour, the man, the myth, the legend. Some people know him as Bill Welker. I'm lucky enough to call him my dad. Dad, how you doing today?
I'm good, thank you. I'm good.
You got some nerves
Happy to be
here?
Well, you know, you guys are my family, really, so not really.
I was gonna say, you've been in business in Austin, Texas for 30 years. This is nothing but a walk in the park, right?
Yeah, well, let's just see how it goes.
Okay.
I get nervous when any camera's pointing at me, but you
Gotcha.
know, let's have a good time. Let's see what's up.
Sounds good. Sounds good. So to start from the beginning, really, you started this business in 1986.
Yes.
And before that, you were working at Mccarter Music in Wichita Falls.
Yes, I was.
So at what point when you were working at Mccarter Music did you decide, screw it, I got to do this for myself?
Well, it wasn't until right before I left.
Yeah.
I had gone to school there, and I finished a BBA degree at Midwestern State while I was working for Joan and Charlie at McCarty's. And you know, that was a goal, to finish school. And so having done that, I thought, man, I'm ready to set another goal. And I told them that we should open up a little annex store in one of the smaller towns around the area. And this opportunity came about. Charlie had started this with Michael Dvorkin and Kenny Grimes. And in 1985, Kenny had taught guitar here when it was the Guitar Store in the same location. But they kind of left their lease, and that's when Charlie came in, and the three of them started South Austin Music Incorporated, and they basically paid Tom Black, miss you Tom, to run the store. He was a master student at UT at the time, and I think he would work here from 1 to 8 or something like that, like Kenny gave guitar lessons. And anyway, in '86 when I finished school, I took the steps to buy the business from them and to see what we could do with it.
Yeah. So you talked about, you know, finishing school as a goal for you, and then you decided your next goal would be opening up the business. Yeah. Is it fair to say you're a pretty goal-oriented person?
Yes.
Has that been helpful continuing the business through all these years?
Well, you know, it's interesting because you have ideas and some of those become goals, but not all of them do. So I would say that it's been helpful to have a vision, to have, you know, a desire to want to keep doing something. It's also been helpful to enjoy what you do, you know, and serving this local community has just been a gas. It's been a lot of fun.
Yeah, absolutely. What were some like when you started here, you talk about having a vision for the store. Has that vision fully come into fruition, or has there been some changes along the way?
There's always changes. You know, change is something that you can't really control. That is the changes around you, and you might even be able to hear, what is that, a bulldozer or a driller across the street. It's nothing you can do. I've been able to manage the changes that happen within with the people that work here and making decisions that affect the business. But the outside changes are the ones that you go, darn, you know, when they build a building 6 feet from your mural that was so celebrated. But so you can't really do anything about the changes that are outside, and some of those have been good and some of them not so good.
Mm-hmm. Where, like for example, you know, you are my dad, so I've been around you my whole life, obviously. I've seen you work, you know, up until the day before intensive back surgery. I've seen you work through emotional trauma. Where do you find the drive to keep showing up every day, and also to show up with, you know, the same goal in mind, to help out the local Austin scene?
Well, I guess it comes from within, the desire to serve others, putting others first. I really don't have time for personal issues and such to slow me down. Again, when you enjoy what you do as much as I do, it's not so much of a job. It's a kind of a get to thing. I get to go to the store today. I get to see people I know and love, and so I think it's just being a people person, not a camera person, but a people person.
Yeah,
is really helped.
For sure.
Yeah.
So I started working here a little over 6 months ago now, and my older brother Cade's been here for about 7 years. So with this place being a family-centric, family-owned business, what are some of the challenges you've come across working with your kids?
None.
And I'm going to take notes here.
None. Not really any. It's interesting because whatever it was 6 years ago before Cade started working. By the way, your oldest brother was fired.
Right.
Only because it was just not the right timing for him.
I got fired too when I was charging for parking.
Yeah, well, maybe there were some challenges that I don't really remember, but
there might have been a challenge or two, right?
Seriously, it's. I guess you could say it's a family business, but I consider all the guys my family. We really do care about each other. We really like working together. We really want the best for each other, and the unfortunate part for you two guys is that this is a tough thing to walk away from. I'm just now pushing 60, and I feel like I got some good years in front of me, and this is where it's going to happen. I will say that I'm going to take more time off and travel, and I'm able to say that and do that because I have all the faith in the world in my staff, you included. But I've been blessed with some wonderful people, and I've surrounded myself with some wonderful people. And what this is, the South Austin Music Sessions, is a way to record some conversations with some of our favorite folks, some of the well-known artists and friends and customers that we have, and maybe some not so well-known, but to bring to the rest of the world just an opportunity to meet some of the people that we get to serve here at South Austin Music, and kind of collect some information just so that there is some sort of history taking place here, because the first 35 years is not really a blur, but it's hard to remember every significant thing that happened because over the years there have been some really significant things.
You want to talk about some of those things, like maybe some of your favorite people that you got to meet that came into the store?
Man, there's been some, there's just been some great folks kind of stumble into the place. Maybe they hear about it and come in, but everybody's special. I don't, there's been different levels of success, of course, but when it comes to selling people guitar strings or a guitar or whatever we have here to sell, everybody's in the same boat, I think we do a good job of treating everybody equally, and those that are well known, they really appreciate the atmosphere too, because they're not called out, they're not, they're treated like everybody else. And I think when it comes down to it, most of the people with success enjoy just being in the group, part of what's going on, and not all eyes and all ears on them. So I think through the years we've done a really good job of just making people feel comfortable and
appreciating everybody.
Yeah. I mean, I love everybody, so yeah.
So from the way I understand it, and of course I've little to no experience with it, but when you own and operate a business, essentially you eat, sleep, and breathe that business. Have you found any kind of outside activities that help you not get burnt out on it to where you're able to keep going?
I get to yell and scream. I get to yell and scream at the only sports team I follow, mostly at them and not their opponents, but That gives me 3 hours a week during the season to scream. I don't really get to do it anymore because we have this little lap dog, and the last time I got excited during a football game, I don't think she had anything to do with me for the next 2 days. So I kind of just do this when good things happen and keep quiet when nothing happens.
Just to show you how much he cares about this little dog, when I was growing up and I was 7-8 years old with asleep for school the next morning, he didn't quiet down necessarily when he was screaming at the Cowboys. So this dog is pretty meaningful.
Yeah, she's pretty sensitive. But I think that in life, everybody needs work-life balance, and I learned that several years ago. You can live and breathe it, as you say. Of course, there's times outside of the 7 hours that we're open a day that I think about things, and then there's times where I'm away from here where I come up with some ideas, some wild hair ideas, and some good ideas, but. Really, I think it should be that way for everybody that works here. When we close, we're closed, and then everything can wait until we reopen again. And I think, raising kids was a good distraction from owning a business. My sweet wife, we spend all of our time together outside of here, and that's been a blessing. Yeah, live your life, do what you do and try to be good at what you do, but also live your life and, have other interests and hobbies.
Yeah, absolutely. So you started this business, you were 24?
Yes, yeah.
So you're 24 when you started this business, fresh out of college, and you moved to Austin, Texas. I imagine you were probably having a good amount of fun going to see live shows, getting to know the scene.
Yeah. I'd go see anybody that came in. I had to talk everybody into let me order the kind of strings they use because I really couldn't afford to have everything in stock back then. But I developed relationships by doing that, and then I would go out and hear them play. And back then everybody's gig started at 10, 12, and so oftentimes you'd be out till bar time, and I never will forget, I never posted my hours in the first several years. I got really mad when somebody donated the hours sign because I just had a hard time getting here. I mean, with the enthusiasm of opening a business, I would show up early in the beginning and I would just be here, and I'd get to meet people like Johnny Gimbel because he was an early riser. But it's just kind of interesting because I was so hyped to do it, and then I'd be out late one night and I couldn't get here. And so like in the beginning I'd show up at 9 and that turned into 9:30, and then it turned into 10 and that turned into 10:30. And I thought, man, if I can't be at work by 11 every day, then I don't deserve to be in business. So it became 11 to 6.
I know me and all my coworkers enjoy the 11 a.m. start time as well.
Sure.
That's been pretty nice for us.
Sure.
You're going out and you're building connections by seeing these guys play.
Sure.
And that would have been, was that, not to age you here, but was that in the late 80s, early 90s?
Yep.
About
late
that time?
80s, early 90s.
What was the live music scene like back then in comparison to how it is now?
Fun. There was always something to do. I think Austin was coining the live music capital of the world about the same time as I opened the store up here. But you could go to the back room on Riverside and see great local bands like Dangerous Toys. You could go to Chicago House right off of 6th Street and see great singer-songwriters. I remember going to Cactus Cafe on the UT campus, and I got to hear Darden Smith for the first time. He opened up for Lyle Lovett, and Lyle didn't have his big band back then. He had a conga player, and his name escapes me, and he had a celloist named John Hagen. And to me, that was magical to hear, in an intimate setting, to hear somebody like Lyle sing with a cello and congas. That was pretty special. But Yeah, there's a lot of different places to check out back then, and unfortunately, some of those places were around up until about a year and a half ago when things went.
Right. So that's you're talking about the COVID lockdowns there.
Yeah.
And not to get too deep into it, but what do you think was the biggest help for you to get through that lockdown? I mean, obviously you had to shut down the business for a little bit. What do you think helped get you through that, financially and emotionally?
Well, just sticking to my guns, doing what I do, thinking outside the box, thinking about how else to create revenue. I've always took a lot of pride in that all of the stuff that we've done, with the small exception of a little bit of online business, was done through the front door because I enjoy the relationships that we build over the years with our customers. And but when that came to a slowdown, we started selling online, and I was pretty surprised at how well that went. We get a lot of cool stuff here in the store, a lot of cool guitars, and people seem to appreciate our prices when we started putting it up for the nation to take a look at. And
talking about putting it on Reverb, right?
Yeah.
Gotcha. So Reverb was a big help. And of course, when you first got going, there weren't any business websites really at all. At what point did you decide that was something you had to do, start to venture on the online side a little bit?
I remember, and I don't remember what year it was, but I remember watching one of those weekend news specials. It's probably on KLRU, about them saying that if you're a small business and you don't have a website, then you'll be gone in a year. And I had to call BS on that. I think if you're connected with the community in a way that people need you and want you where you are, then there's a personal thing. But when everything went to the internet, I was slow in ramping up to that. I was really slow because, again, I enjoyed just people coming in the store and doing business that way. It's you can make it more personal if you take the time. But really, when you have somebody come into the store, you're gonna have a lot better interaction than you are with somebody that you're trying to sell to or buy from online. And I think that's what this place is all about. So if we have to keep selling online, we will. But if it was up to me, I'd just hang out with the folks that want to hang out here.
Looking back on the 35 years of business, has there been anything you'd want to change about what you've done, or maybe even just add to?
Man, I've had a whole lot of ideas, things like little satellite shops in different parts of town. They're basically small representations of what we have here. But I've never tried to go too big, or I'm not really motivated by the whole concept of making money. I'm motivated by relationships and taking care of people, and so I've kind of gone at my own pace, and it's been comfortable. And so I guess the answer is no. I think everything happens for a reason, and the store used to be just a fraction of what it is now as far as size-wise, and I think there's 4 or 5 remodels along the way. It grew into the rest of the building, and sometimes when you start something, you can start too big, and it might not work out. But if you work within your means, then you can hopefully maintain and exist. So I think I did a good job of that.
Yeah. Do you remember the first guitar you bought?
The first guitar I bought, I was working at Mccarter Music. I remember the first guitar I had. Your Uncle Doug gave it to me. It was a Gibson LGO, and I was supposed to learn to play guitar, and that didn't work out too well. I remember figuring out, being really green and not knowing much. Thank God for the Boss TU-12 tuner. At least I could tune a guitar. But I can remember figuring out that, well, I don't have to know everything. As long as I can communicate with people and they're patient with me, I'll figure out a way. And so I can remember when I felt that, going like, yeah, I made a good decision. This is going to be a lot of fun. So that was probably early on in 86, 87.
Right. We'll talk about maybe, some of the lows too, but what are some of your highest moments owning this business? What have been some of the happiest moments for you at this shop?
Well, we celebrated a few things through the years. I used to, way back before you kids came along, I used to have these parking lot parties, and that's what they were. They weren't sales; they were parties, and it was always on a Saturday, and I'd ask different bands if they would want to play, and everybody was hip to do it, and we'd just set out a PA, and I remember one time Junior Brown was the headliner, and but just these guys that are making music with their bands, you become friends with them, and then you're part of their life and they're part of your life, and they're just happy to help and happy to celebrate. And
talking a little bit about the lows, like I know when I was growing up back in 2008, it was pretty much tough on everyone financially. Has there ever been a time when you're in business that you've been genuinely scared that you might not be able to pull through this, or have you always just kind of had the inner faith that it's going to work out in the end?
Well, I would say in the early years, it could have been month to month for a while, but I've always kept my overhead low. And generally speaking, I haven't always made the right decisions or good decisions, but generally speaking, if you just are committed and you keep at it and you keep trying and you keep working, that's a good work ethic that's going to show up, and that's going to help you to make it. I don't think there was a particular time where I was scared. Oh no, I'm not going. Oh, there was. I remember now. I rented this building for the first 30 years, and the wonderful landlady who inherited from her mother paid Addie Stone rent until 99, and she passed, and then Barbara Seek became the owner, and I sent her checks in the mail. I had a really good deal. They were wonderful people, and I had an affordable rent, and things had started to changing. A lot of people that lived in the 04 here were getting overpriced and had to move out, a lot of our customers. And so it was kind of a challenging time knowing that. And then I got the letter where Barbara explained that she had an honorable reason that she was ready to sell the property. And so that kind of took the wind out of my sail, and I thought that I was going to have to move, and looked into the idea of moving, and got some great advice from some very dear people, Richard Weiss and Gary Keller, and that if I could possibly work it out, that I should stay where I am. And I didn't think it was possible because I thought I'd already exhausted all possible revenue streams, and but it did work out, and I was able to pull it together and buy the building, and that was a moment of several month long moment of like, oh my gosh, I hope this works. I don't know what I would do if it doesn't, to the feeling of true success. And by that I mean, man, when I knew that I was going to be able to buy the building and continue to do what I love to do, that's when all was right with the world for me. But it's hard to say that when you have customers and friends that are struggling with their ever-increasing rents and all. And you can look around, a lot of the well-known, well-loved local businesses, restaurants and bars, and other types of shops are no longer around. I feel very, very fortunate that I've been able to be here.
Yeah, talking about some of those other shops and businesses that used to be around and unfortunately aren't anymore. It wasn't too long ago that we're here on South Lamar. There was 4 or 5 other guitar shops on Lamar.
Yeah.
When that was the case, what was the energy like then? Did it feel like there was competition, or did it feel like camaraderie where there was enough to go around for everyone?
Well, it was. I've always felt personally that it was more of like being part of something. I've had customers that have been in, and we're talking about at least 10 years ago. You had, there was a little store called Mike's Music by the Broken Spoke. Straight was still on North Lamar. And so you had South Austin Music, and then Rob and Steve had the South Austin Custom Shop. They actually started here in the store and then rented their own space. And then Steve Fulton had Austin Vintage and Heart of Texas Music, which is a lot of history there. But that was all in one building, just a block away. And then beyond them, between here and the river, was Music Makers. And they were a big shop that served a lot of the same people. But the cool part about it was, if you liked guitar shops, you could set out on a Saturday and hit several shops all in one part of town. And there's a lot of people that miss that. But I think it was friendly competition. I don't think anybody was out to get anybody. I think we kind of had our own niche. Everybody had their own niche. And there's a lot of crossover customers, I don't think you can be in business and think that you can help everyone, because you just can't, even though you might want to. But I miss those stores, because those stores had meaning too. And again, there's change that you can't control. So what do you do? Keep doing what you know.
So jumping back a little bit, you talked about a little bit about being at Mccarter Music with Joan and Charlie, who are now both passed, rest in peace. In the, let's say first 20 to 25 years of business, how often did you find yourself going to them with problems that you're having with your business, as far as getting insight on it, since they both had owned a music store prior? Did you ever find yourself going to them to, ask either simple or complicated questions?
Well, that's a good question, but the answer is no, not so much. And that's mostly because in the 6 years I worked for them, I learned everything that they did. I even spoke at Joan's burial and said so much, but they changed my life. They taught me everything I know. I still do the things the way that she did it with the books, and the way that he did it, just being a good old boy, willing to trade anything. I think James Mccarter traded Charlie a shotgun for a guitar one time. I traded a Gibson. I don't know if it was an ES2, whatever it was. I don't remember. But I got a fishing boat out of the deal, and the guy got a nice Gibson archtop. I learned how to, do the trading. And I think that's been a major proponent of what goes on here, is because, most musicians have gear that they don't use anymore, but somebody else sure might like it. So that's worked out for me. But no, I learned from them, and then we definitely kept in touch. They would consign me stuff, and then later on, I acquired a big inventory in Chickasha, Oklahoma, and I consigned some stuff to them. And so we helped each other out through the years. We were like family, and still are. I miss them dearly every day, because I feel like I wouldn't have what I have without them.
Mm-hmm. That's a little bit what I was talking about earlier when I was saying I've seen you, show up to work no matter what's going on outside of your life. The day that I found out that Joan had passed, we talked a little bit about it in the morning, but really the only time I saw that it was really affecting you that day at work was when we were having lunch back in your office, and we were having chicken fried steak, and you just said, "This is comfort food." Yeah. And that's how I knew, you were in mourning and you were worried about it, but you're still back there in the office working away.
Yeah.
And that's something I've always been able to look up to. It's crazy that, no matter what's going on, you still show up to work. Do you think that walking in the doors at South Austin Music oftentimes lifts your spirits rather than, here I am at the job?
Yes. I'm always excited to pull up, but that doesn't mean that I'm not also excited to pull up in my driveway when I get home. Again, it's that balance. But this whole community here in Austin, the people that work here, the people that shop here, the people that pass through, it's special. There's not a lot of places like this around, communities like this around, and we're I would say a fairly tight-knit community. It's not just this happens over here, this happens over here, and this happens over here. It's an all-embracing thing, and people really care about each other around here. And boy, it's a wonderful place to call home.
Well, I think now we probably jump to some quick questions for you, kind of pick your brain a little bit.
Okay.
I'll ask you this or that, and then you just give me the quickest answer you can think of.
Okay.
Would you rather sell an electric or acoustic guitar?
Acoustic.
Okay. Why is that?
I love acoustic guitars. I love wood.
Okay. Would you rather live in the city or the country?
Both.
Vacation to the mountains or the beach?
Both.
SUV or truck?
SUV.
Dance hall or bar?
Bar.
Would you rather spend the day laying around watching the Cowboys or at the shop?
They only get 3 hours of my time.
Fair enough. Boots or tennis shoes?
Tennies.
Gibson or Martin?
J45.
Would you rather sell one $5,000 guitar or 1,000 $5 guitars?
Man, there ain't no such thing as a $5 guitar, but I'd like to think that I could serve that many people. But it's really neat because if you sell a $5,000 guitar, you're helping somebody acquire something that they've longed for, and that's a good feeling.
Mm-hmm. Style or comfort?
Comfort.
Comfort.
You said dance hall or bar. I should have said Saxon Putt. Saxon is my neighbor. They're the best neighbors. Joe Abels does a great job. The staff is the best. And if you're gonna experience live music in Austin, you got to go to the Saxon Putt.
Yeah, there you go. Big venue or small?
Both.
Both.
Mm-hmm.
Close friend. If you're gonna go watch live music, would you rather it be a close friend or someone that you've kind of idolized and haven't been around very much at all?
Local stuff. People I've actually met, I have a lot more enjoyment being at their show because then I understand them. Hell, I've worked with a guy, Danny Thorpe, who has since passed. Danny had worked at Heart of Texas, and he was a walking encyclopedia when it came to music knowledge and music history. And he just remembered everything. And I thought, man, this is great because he hung out here and worked with me for a while. And then I saw him play. And I went, geez, I had no idea. So it's kind of interesting, a couple of you guys, when I get to see you play, it really helps me to understand who you are, Yeah. Because the performance is everything. So yeah, I enjoy seeing people that I know.
Okay. I got another one here for you. Put some thought to it. Of course, I already know the answer. Kate or Seth?
Kyler.
That's fair. So, at what point did you decide that you wanted to start interviewing local Austin musicians back here in the Acoustic A Room, and what gave you that idea?
Well, it's actually been a long conversation that goes way back. I have a dear friend, Curtis Cole, that said, hey, we ought to do a South Austin music documentary. And, the Saxon Pub had done a documentary, and I saw that, and that was fantastic. But, I can't remember everything that's happened through the decades here, and there's been a lot of fun stuff that happened. So we just decided to start collecting some information, and we thought that doing these interviews with some of the locals and whoever we can get to come in here and talk about their life as a musician and as an artist and what their goals are and what they feel about Austin. I think that's the concept. But I also think that, everybody enjoys YouTube these days. There's some great stuff out there, some how-to stuff, informative stuff, a lot of great YouTubes on history. And I just hope that South Austin Music Sessions become a way for people to check out Austin and you know, some of the artists around here and feel connected instead of, you know, feel like they have to come here, you know. And bring it if you can come, but otherwise watch this and you'll get a lot out of it.
Yeah, awesome. Well, thanks for letting all of us be a part of it.
Yeah,
it's been great so far.
I look forward to it.
It's been good. Well, everyone else has done it for us so far, so I think the only thing left for you to do is play us a song.
I'll spare you that. Yeah.
Thank you so much. Thanks for making all of this possible. Thanks for making coming to work every day possible. It's been awesome to work for you and work with you. And I think we can all agree it's been a lot of fun. So thank you.
Pleasure is mine. Thank you.
Awesome. Love you, Pops.